Good evening, humans. We are discussing Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie that you didn't know was a therapy session. So, before we get too deep into the good, deep stuff of this film, I thought it would be cool to talk about what is your favorite cameo in this movie. And viewers, throw your answer in the comments. We'd like to know and talk about your comments and questions. So, what was your favorite cameo, and what was the most unexpected cameo?
Oh, all right.
Sure,
Favorite
go ahead.
cam. I don't know if I have a favorite cameo yet. I'll have to think about that one. Right? But most unexpected cameo was Blade.
Yeah, yeah.
I was actually got up, went to the bathroom, and I came back and sat down. And Doug goes, "I'm like, hey, is that all these people?" And he goes, "Yeah, and Blade's here." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yes, Wesley Snipes is in this movie." I'm like, no way! I had no idea.
Man, he had to be expensive, I'm sure.
Oh, probably.
But they probably gave him some liberties too. Like he had the quote, "I'm the only Blade." I won't finish the quote, but he says, "I'm the only Blade." So
And will ever
throwing
be.
shade at the fact that Marvel can't get their stuff together to actually make the new Blade.
Yeah, that
I
was
think
pretty funny.
they let him play around with that a little too.
Yeah, that might be my favorite one too. Just
Did you
because it
think
was
the there will be some spoilers on this podcast, by the way, so just so
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, watch the movie first. But did you think that the Johnny Blaze cameo was like a joke, a dig at Fox?
I think the whole movie was a dig at Fox.
I mean, it was making fun of Disney, Marvel, and Fox all at once,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
kind of funny. But
Mhm.
yeah, that cameo surprised me. That was pretty interesting. You would never see them blow up Captain America, but Human Torch, I think they could get away with, and fans would like.
Yeah, it was a comedy death that he was in the void, needed to happen at some point anyhow. So
Doug kind of predicted that too when they showed him. They said like, "Oh, he's not going to be Captain America. He's going to be the Fantastic Four, right?"
Oh,
And
you
sure
called
enough,
it?
yeah.
well,
And sure enough,
and I did my best to not. Every time I saw something about theories and things like that, I tried to push them away and everything. But yeah, I did hear that theory going around that if he's in it, he won't be Captain America. He'll be Johnny Blaze.
We have a
was
comment
great, I
here.
What's that?
Who is Robert Paulson? Should I know?
It's my shirt
Oh yeah. Okay.
that she actually bought for me. Thank you, Woo.
that's
Awesome.
from Fight Club.
From Fight Club. Yep.
Oh, okay. I
Meatloaf.
thought it was a Deadpool reference.
No,
No.
that's Meatloaf on Fight Club.
She was just complimenting my wear.
Yes.
So
And oh, by the way, happy belated birthday! I just realized I missed that. So to Christina.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was very surprised to see Jennifer Garner show up as Elektra in the movie, and Gambit too. But I was a big Alias fan, and I kind of thought they wasted the Elektra character in the Daredevil and Elektra movies. So I was kind of excited to see her come back, and she still looks like a ninja.
no, she still looks good. She can move. I mean, obviously they got a lot more closer shots than a lot of the moves. It's easier to do with CGI now. But I mean, what? She's a year older than me, so she's 50 years old.
Wow.
And she's moving well, and the same actress she's always been. And it was a nice little jab there at Ben, where he said Daredevil's dead. And, oh, I'm sorry. No big deal. Or something.
Hey,
Like
again,
that.
I missed that. I was
Yep.
in the bathroom.
Yeah, you missed all the really cool the entrance of Gambit and everything like that. That was pretty cool.
All right,
Yeah.
tell me how Gambit's appearance went over for you. Did you like this take? Because I know this was
absolutely.
supposed to be a part of a movie quite some time ago that got canceled. Weren't they going for a Gambit movie at one point, and they cast Channing Tatum?
Well, during the Wolverine, the one with
Origins.
Gambit in it, Origins. Okay.
Yeah.
So they wanted Channing Tatum for that. And unfortunately, he had other things already. He wanted to play that character too. So they brought in Taylor Kitsch, who was the next big thing. Unfortunately, he's a good actor. He just found some poor movies to be in around that time. So they were going to talk about bringing out Gambit in the Fox universe, and they kept coming up with scripts. They couldn't find anything great. Channing wanted to do it as well. And then, yeah, they sold the Fox sold everything to Disney, and it was like, well, we'll just throw him in there because he's getting to the age now where he can't be Gambit with the new X-Men whenever that comes around. So let's just throw him in the void.
I can't say it landed every time he had a line, but I thought it was cool, and he kind of had shades of the cartoon character. I grew up on the X-Men 94 series, and that Gambit was like how I pictured Gambit, and I felt like they went for that, and they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, that's how I expect Gambit to be. And, in Origins, still, it was fun. It wasn't the greatest script, but he played it well. So,
yeah. Well, let's jump into talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, the two main characters here. So I thought this was a cool, kind of an interesting dichotomy of a film because they try to shock you and go as crude as possible, and they also try to take you deep and talk about like searching for a higher purpose, which are two things that I didn't really expect to find in the same movie. Did you feel surprised at how deep they went with a Deadpool film here?
I figured they had to do something a little different. I mean, part 1, part 2, what's the word I'm trying to think of? But whatever you said, a lot of swearing, a lot of, they went more for the shock factor than a story. I feel I enjoyed part 1 and part 2. But it was a lot of just little jokes, little stories here, little stories here. In part 2, you can see a revenge story with that evil kids director and everything like that. But, it wasn't like a full on story, but this one did have a full on kind of a deeper story. Two men trying to just become better. And, it's done in a comedic way with a lot of swearing, a lot of drinking, a lot of fighting and everything like that, which I'm okay with. But, yeah, it is a nice story about trying to be better. It's not trying to trying to reach something. It's not, they didn't, it wasn't even like a goal. It was just a movie about just be a little bit better.
It had a kind of a lot of another meaning that I picked up on while watching it. It's the theme is you're saving your planet, your timeline. You're trying to save yourself. You're saving, he's saving Logan. He's all these things that he's trying to save, but also in a way, it's kind of saving a franchise at the same time.
Oh, and he's making a joke about it.
He makes jokes about that the whole time, and I love that he's referencing the movie in the Marvel, the MCU the entire time, but nobody else does. It's just him. Like when he says, "I'm the Marvel Jesus," and, and grabbing a camera and talking about, how Fox killed him, but Disney brought him back. I mean, like no one else responds to it but him. But so I mean, there was a whole lot going on. I think it was kind of a metaphor for what they were actually trying to do with the franchise too, because they kind of has gone down a little bit since they stopped making the Avenger films and all the other stuff. So,
do you think they tried to mature him as a character so that they could later mix him with some of the other Avengers? Because like the Deadpool we saw in Deadpool 1 and 2, that would be harder to mesh with the Avengers. But after they put him through this character arc in this film, I wonder if that was a way to like kind of prep him to be in a movie with these other characters. Soften him up a little, maybe.
It could be if they just, decide to go that way. If they I don't know if are they planning on making more Avenger films?
Yeah. But nobody really knows what that's going to look like yet. Maybe some of the audience can tell us what the next phase is. I believe over the weekend, I don't know if you saw the new casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom.
So yeah. I'm very curious to see, Doug, we were talking about the Robert Downey Jr. Dr. Doom casting decision.
keep going because
catch
I've
that?
lost my sound.
Oh,
Now he's lost
we can
sound.
hear you.
I can hear you.
Not me.
Yeah, that's interesting that he goes to Doctor Doom. I mean, they're in the same universe, so now he's playing two different
Yeah.
guys. It's kind of like the Kevin Smith askew verse that he has, like, you know, with Clerks and all that stuff, where you have like the same guy playing four different dudes. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go with this. I would personally like to see some more X-Men involved.
Yeah, me too.
So we'll see. I don't know how many times can he play Wolverine though? This is like 9th, right?
Till he's 90, apparently.
Apparently till he's
think
90.
they
They
won't
got
let
you
him
till you're
go
90.
because they figured out they can't. Well, they did make X-Men First Class, but they can't make, for the most part, a blockbuster X-Men film without Wolverine.
Right. Well,
It
he
just
is the
hasn't
X-Man.
worked. Yeah. Were you surprised, like, by Wade's motivation in this movie, like to be better?
That's not really. I don't know if that's really what his motivation was at first. You know, but again, yeah, he did take it where I got to fix my timeline. And at first it was just all I need to do is just get a Logan back here.
Yeah.
So at that point, I don't know how much he was saying I need to better myself on this one, but because he kind of just said, you know, look, I'm done being this and I'm done being that, and this is who I am now, but I'm not happy about it. So I'm just going to be miserable and be this instead of being who I am and happy, but try to find a happy medium in that. So yeah, but as it went on, he started, you know, being less you know, thinking about himself and starting putting others first. I did like that. I like how they transitioned him, where he could still be a, you know, wisecracking, rude, crude, loudmouth, you know, guy. But at the same time, he did start showing that he does care for somebody else and other things than just himself.
Yeah, but he was still together
exactly
with...
what you guys said.
Welcome back.
I agree with everything with that.
I just said how
No,
it
keep
when
going.
it started, how it started, how he just wanted to get a Logan back to save his play, you know, his timeline, but it wasn't really about him changing who he was.
Well, what
That
about his
didn't come until a little
relationship
bit later.
though?
So
Because, like, wasn't he still with Vanessa, but it wasn't working out very well while he was trying to get these other jobs? See, that's the thing I
looks like
can't
that.
figure out. Like, he's
Yeah, I
trying to
think-
better himself, but he can't figure out what that means. Like, is it making a career change from a murderous vigilante to a you know, car salesman or something? Or like he's looking for what does it mean to be someone better or to not be a murderous vigilante? But
right. And it's
I don't
putting
think he knows
someone
what that
else
looks
first.
like at the beginning of the film. And
Right.
Wolverine is like his picture of that.
Yeah, you know, putting someone else before you. And I guess she just really wasn't seeing him doing that. I don't know if it's because he was still unhappy. Because, like, look, okay, I'm trying to sell cars now and I don't like this, and now I'm miserable. And it's not really showing that you want to change. You're just doing it because you're doing it. It's not bettering yourself because you want to do it. So you need to do it, you know, on your own.
He wasn't bettering himself in a way that was still him too, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting because he's still going to be a murderous like vigilante through the film. That's never going to change, but he is going to. I guess you could argue that he does have a heart or something.
Yeah,
I think so. One thing I had a question about, and I didn't quite catch, what was the exact reason they broke up? Was it because he was not the man he used to be, or was it because she was worried about everything that could have happened because she found out that she did die in one timeline, that he saved her?
I can't figure that out. I don't know that it's explicitly stated, but I got the impression that she kind of grew up a little bit and he didn't. He was still like living in the past kind of. And that maybe somebody else can tell us, but that was my takeaway because she never really gave him a clear reason in the film that I caught.
Yeah, I was seeing the same thing, so I wasn't sure.
But for whatever reason, he wants to do better, and his timeline's in jeopardy. So I thought that was kind of interesting that this concept of anchor beings, like a person who is so important to a timeline that if they die, the whole thing falls apart. Did you guys like that concept? I'm not even sure what it was about Wolverine that made him the anchor being. I've got theories, but what do you guys think?
I don't really know why it would have been him. Like, what made him the anchor being? I don't know what it would have been. So I really honestly don't
come out
know.
of a movie. It doesn't
Yeah,
do well.
they had to find a way to get him into this film.
Yeah, I mean, with the multiverse, and I think they talked a little bit about anchor beings in Loki as well. I saw season 1. I haven't finished season 2 yet. But I think they're just, well, they kind of make fun of it in the movie too. It's just like, aren't you sick of this multiverse crap? You know, they just keep, it's like, well, why does this work? Well, because of this thing. And it's like, why does this work? Because of this guy. And let's bring in, your Judah and
Too much multiverse. Huh?
Yeah. And then it's just like, well, why are we bringing him in? I don't know. He needs to be here. Why? The thing from Loki. The being.
See, I'm not anti-multiverse. I just think when they got into the multiverse storylines, other than Spider-Man, they didn't know where they wanted to go with it. That's part.
They went way too soon because the multiverse for Secret Wars, those who've read the comics and everything, you need the multiverse, 100%. So that was their plan: is we're going to do the multiverse. We're going to bring in the Secret Wars. Well, then COVID hit, so that was a year and a half minimum of no filming and everything got pushed back. And what do we do during COVID? Let's try some of these TV shows and let's just make them different. Let's try to make Ally McBeal again, but with a green woman. And just, it was like, okay, well, what do we do now? What do we do now? And then they realized, okay, we're too deep. Let's back it off and let's just. So I blame COVID.
For basically. The multiverse.
Yeah. When you start getting into this multiverse and all these different timelines, there was a question I had for Doug at the end of this. They're talking about like you can stay here and be wiped out with your timeline, or I'm giving you the option to go to the other timeline. What do they call it? The
void?
No, not the void. The sacred timeline.
Oh, yeah.
So in his timeline, obviously there are Avengers, right?
Well,
they exist.
Here's what I found out. I don't know if the Avengers exist in his timeline, but Deadpool, and I think we'll hear about this in upcoming Avenger movies, is different. He's different, as is Wanda is different, and he can break that fourth wall. That's why they brought in She-Hulk, because She-Hulk can break that fourth wall as well. So he knows about the Avengers, even though the Avengers are not in his timeline.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay,
is that that's a fourth wall thing, not necessarily?
Okay, because that's what I was thinking. Like, why would he need to go to the sacred timeline to be with the Avengers if he had already met with the guy who was recruiting for the Avengers? And then all of a sudden the event, it was really throwing me off. And you have to forgive me because I did not watch She-Hulk, and I have not watched Loki, and I didn't watch WandaVision. So I thought,
well, you didn't need to.
Maybe I'm just missing out. But when you're, I had always just assumed that he existed on the same timeline with the Avengers, and I know that they went back and they changed some things, but
he's from
was a little confusing.
10,005 or something.
Yeah,
he's different Earths and all that stuff. So it's like I was a little confusing on how he was going.
Yeah,
from
I guess
the other.
Happy Hogan was. I don't know. Was he interviewing with the Happy in a different timeline, or is there a Happy Hogan and
he's
and
been
Avengers maybe?
With Cable's time travel device, so I think he probably went to the one with the main Avengers. So he must have gone into the sacred timeline, I think.
So if he could just go there, why not just go there? Why did he need that other guy to send him there? If he could go there whenever he wanted,
Interesting.
why would that guy say, I'm giving you the opportunity to go there if he could just already go there?
I guess he
So-
gave him a purpose. I mean,
No, it's a
'cause
purpose is stay here and die or go to the other timeline. That was your
Yeah.
choices. It
but
wasn't
he
go
gave him a
find
mission. He gave him the go find Wolverine and save your timeline.
Well,
Correct.
that wasn't the mission given by the TVA.
That wasn't it. He did that on his own.
Yeah.
The mission
What was-
was
because the anchor died.
he said the anchor died, your universe is collapsing. So you can stay here and collapse with your friends, or
Yes.
I'll send you to the sacred timeline. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go get a Logan instead. So that's
This
what
is
I'm
why
saying.
it's-
I don't think he can just automatically jump from one timeline to the next and be in the sacred timeline whenever he feels like it. Because if he could, he would have done that a long time. He would have been able to do that. So that's where it was a little confusing on, do the Avengers exist in this timeline? Are they different Avengers? Do they have different? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. This is the problem with reviewing a movie on the weekend of release, right? Because we can only watch it once.
I know I need to watch it again. They probably explained it and it's right there. Or there's got to be somebody who, and I'm admitting that when it comes to the MCU, I am not an expert on it. I've seen the films just a handful of times each. So there's some probably things that I'm missing that I just don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, with the MCU, I am an expert compared to Drew,
I've seen most of the TV
which means I
stuff
know
too,
just
not
a
all of it.
little bit.
But he did use Cable's time travel device
Mhm.
To travel from his timeline, which is Earth 10005, to Earth 616, the sacred timeline, to meet Happy Hogan. So he could already time travel before he meets Paradox.
okay,
So that is odd. Unless
maybe
Paradox
Paradox doesn't know
knows
that he
all
can
the
do that.
info about the different timelines, because they can see them all on the screens.
Yeah,
So I took it like okay, you broke the time travel laws, so now we're going to make you do a time travel mission.
yeah,
Sort of.
or maybe it's like, we know that he can time travel, but now we're going to give you permission to go there and stay.
It's kind of like Suicide
I don't know.
Squad. Like, you went to jail and then the government finds out you have special abilities, so they're like, okay, well, now we're going to use you. That's the way I took it.
Oh, well,
Mm-hmm. I believe that he did offer to be you want to be an Avenger, I can make that happen.
Well,
So
yeah,
I
you can
think-
be what you always wanted to be, is what he said. Yeah.
You can become worthy, basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I liked the idea of a sacred timeline, but I wish I knew more about it. Like, why is it sacred? I assume it's like the one timeline that affects all the others. So it's like an anchor timeline.
Mhm.
If you lose that, you're going to lose other timelines. But they didn't say much about that, did they?
At the very end, they were
know.
saying when he's wiping them out that, if this one's gone, it's gone. Everything, we lose everything.
Yeah. So yeah, if it's basically an anchor timeline, then.
Yeah.
And I think they explained that in Loki as well. It's been so long since I've seen season 1. I barely remember season 2, and I haven't even finished that one yet. So gets a little complicated, but I bet there's something out there. There's probably 15 YouTube videos of people breaking down how everything goes.
Mhm.
So it's getting to be like Game of Thrones out here.
And alternate timelines, just I don't like anyway. Like, it worked for Back to the Future, but even then it can get a little confusing. So, but it's like, oh, hey, we got this one, but no, it's this timeline goes here and this one goes. It's like, come on, why does every freaking movie now have to have alternate timelines? Can we just stick with the story?
I assume it's because they want to bring certain characters back. Like,
Yeah.
they wanted to bring Wolverine back. They knew, oh no, we killed him off in Logan. Like, we have to do something to bring him back.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
remember, I mean, these are popular comics, so you had to go with the multiverse. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, first off, they hit it too soon. COVID delayed things even longer, so it was just like, we have to keep playing this multiverse card, even though we only had ideas for Spider-Man and then Secret Wars. So I think it was off with that. But then 2, yeah, everyone else started following suit. You know, DC now has a multiverse, and then or did other TV shows. That Oscar-winning movie from last year, Everything Always Here at Once. Or,
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
yes, that one. You know, that's a multiverse movie. You know, so it was kind of just went multiverse overload, and everyone's kind of tired of it. It's not superhero fatigue. I think it's just multiverse fatigue. Nobody knows what's going on.
I agree with that.
I think it would have been
if you
okay
don't keep
if
up
they-
with it, you get lost.
Mhm.
I think if they'd spent more time developing those stories, because I don't think the most recent phase has been solid enough stories. I
Right.
think they lost people there. And think about, they're bringing Anthony Mackie in to be Captain America in the next Captain America film, right? Well,
Mhm.
we've gotten to know him since what, the second Captain America film, and
Yeah.
all through all the Avengers. So when they pass the torch, we're deeply invested in him. He's had a TV show that was very good. So it's almost like next time they pass the torch, they tried to pass the Black Widow torch in one movie, in like half of one movie. And I don't think people were ready to move on from Scarlett Johansson. But if they use the Anthony Mackie model and do it over the course of a whole phase or two, then I think people are going to show up for that Anthony Mackie Captain America movie. I mean, I want to see it. So I think if they did that with some of the characters from this point forward, it would help. But you had this awesome cast, and then all of a sudden you try to introduce brand new characters and reinvent the whole thing again. Plus, I think the stories were weaker in the last phase. I think those two things set them up for failure. So they looked at the things that were like the anchors of the franchise, Deadpool and Wolverine, and they made this movie, which I thought it was pretty solid. I have some of those burning questions about, I wanted to know more about, why is this timeline sacred? And I
Mhm.
wanted to know, I got the impression that when Wolverine died by saving that little girl, his sacrifice saved that timeline, right? It was him and his death that he's the Jesus figure of that timeline. So I wanted to know what was going to happen if he hadn't done that. And some of that stuff would have been cool. We didn't get that, but I mean, they're trying to pack that all in one movie. I guess I can go with it. It was solid overall, but I wanted some of those little answers. But really, if you think about it, those are questions about previous
Doug, you're
movies.
muted.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
muted.
you're just muted, bud.
You're having a bad tech day.
There you go. Yeah, he is having a bad tech day.
Yeah, I can't hear him. He's gonna have to sign to us or write in the comments. Well, let's talk about the Wolverine Deadpool fight. How
Which
did you
one?
feel about their interactions and their first couple battles?
I thought the action was great. It's just a lot of stabbing and a lot of a lot of stabbing, lots of blood. But I mean, it was fun. I mean, every actually fight sequence in this movie was fun, and right out of the gate, I mean, they start with him using Wolverine's bones to bash some skulls in and stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking.
But no, watching these guys fight back and forth. I mean, I love the dynamic between these two. I love how they just absolutely couldn't stand each other.
They're complete opposites.
They are 100%. And I guess when you put opposites like that together for, an extended period of time, you're going to have some problems. But yeah, no, it was fun. They just fight until they wear themselves out. And all right, time to move on. So, but I thought it was well done. I thought the action sequences were great.
I had forgotten Deadpool can regenerate. He's got a healing factor too, right?
Mhm.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. They're just fighting each other. And, Wolverine gets his claws out and he's just digging in, right? Well, you're not really doing any damage because he's just going to reheal it anyway. So it's like, what's the
Yeah.
point of you guys fighting and tearing each other up? You're not really going to hurt each other.
That's the one thing that it didn't feel as intense as it could. Like the comparison would be Cap versus Iron Man in Civil War.
Someone's got to.
That I was
somebody get killed.
afraid. Like I was afraid one of them was going to kill the other or something. or they were going
Right.
to kill each other. And you knew that they're not invincible. So there were stakes. But in this one, yeah, it was entertaining, but maybe I don't want to have that kind of stress. Like, I don't want to see my own favorite characters die on screen. So maybe the fact that they both can regenerate, you could just, I just took it as comedy, but I didn't
Yeah, you could just
feel,
go with it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Bernie, can you hear us?
I can hear you. You hear me?
I can. Yeah, are you alive?
he has returned
I am.
from purgatory, podcast purgatory.
Yeah, give us about 10 more minutes. I'll lose connection again. But I don't know what's
Bernie
going on.
Low
man.
Max.
That's my name for today.
It's a good one.
Thank you.
Nate, do you know what that's from?
Nope.
Weekend at Bernie's. Come on, you know Weekend at Bernie's.
Uh-oh. Is he gone?
Oh, now
He
we've
froze
lost
for
the
a
band.
second.
I can hear him.
There you are.
I'm alive.
Okay.
Says my connection's unstable. Great.
This is an
just that
award-winning
kind of
video
day.
tonight, guys.
Yeah, no kidding. You,
Yeah.
whoever's
I'm having
watching,
a storm
sorry.
outside. I could lose power any moment.
Yeah,
I thought
it's-
Cassandra Nova was pretty scary. She's very
Mhm.
unhinged. You never know what she's going to do.
yeah.
I felt like she actually sympathized with Wolverine. Like she understood his pain. And for a second there, like you think that she's going to help them. But I was pretty sure that it was going to be a ruse, right? I just thought for story purposes, it would be too expected for her to actually help them. So I don't know if that was real sympathy we were seeing or if that was almost like mocking. It's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell.
Mhm.
But I'm with you. I thought she was going to, for a second there, I thought like, oh, okay, he got through to her. She's going to end up helping them get back. But knowing the evil she is, you know, that's the way. And they played it. I'm glad they didn't make it where she became a good guy all of a sudden.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was okay. I don't know. I wouldn't have. Okay, she did well, but obviously, when you think of Professor X, first person you think of is Captain
Patrick
Kirk.
Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. That's what I said.
Mhm.
And then the younger version and everything like that, but they're older men. I'm blanking on names today, but the guy who played the young Professor X, he's my age.
Oh yeah.
And then they bring in,
McAvoy.
yeah. And then they bring in the twin sister, Professor X, and they bring in a 28-year-old. Not that I'm saying age and blah, 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 and all that. I don't want to get into debates on that, but she just seemed too young.
Yeah. Do you not
know,
age in the
which-
void or something?
Maybe I don't know, and maybe they caught her
She-
28 years in the void, and again, time madness. But when you see James McAvoy and you see Patrick Stewart, you think professor, you think maturity, you think knowledge. They've been around, and again, she was fine in the part. I'm not complaining about that, but a lot of times it just sounded like whining.
Oh,
I don't know.
I knew her character, so I knew that she was going to be psychotic,
Mhm.
I guess it fits that she stayed that she was living in the void because she embraces evil, I guess.
Chaos sounds like.
I'm an agent of chaos. She's their Joker.
There you go. She didn't last long.
No. All right.
So,
Well, what else
I've
can we
been
talk
jumping
about?
in and out. I'm sorry. I don't even know where we're at right now.
Last thing we talked about was the Deadpool versus Wolverine scenes.
Oh, the fights. Okay, those were good. I
Yeah.
think they were just there for comedy
The fights, yeah.
steps. Yeah, because
I'm sure everybody wanted
further
to see
the story
that.
that much, but yeah.
I'll tell you what. Maybe it's because I'm older now. Like, I didn't necessarily want to see them fight the whole movie. I would have liked it if they became friends a little bit earlier to see more of how they problem solve together. But I suppose towards the end, because that's the hook of the movie, probably. Like, how are these guys gonna figure things out and work together?
Mhm.
It's
No,
like
it was
there's a real thing when people get married in TV shows or movies, then the ratings go down immediately after the wedding episode. So maybe it's the same kind of thing here. Well, if they become friends, nobody's gonna continue streaming the second half of the movie.
mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to see it this way. I thought of this last night while I was thinking about the movie is different beats here and there and everything, but it is basically just Guardians of the Galaxy 1, a
Mhm.
group of people getting together who don't really agree and they bicker and fight and everything, but they have to learn how to come together as one to save the universe. And to do that, they're going to hold hands. The end. And there was a dance number in it too. There's a dance battle in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
I mean, it's,
I
I mean,
wonder if that was their template.
it's a good template. It's the same template from the Dirty Dozen back in the 60s. And, you take Misfits, you don't know what you're doing. Misfits of Science, very, very, very popular show from the early 80s.
Well, they do that with sports movies too. Every time you get a sports movie together, the team doesn't know fundamentals and they don't like each other and they can't play as a team. And then halfway through the season, everything
Mhm.
comes together. So
It's the first Avengers movie too.
yeah, I mean, that's just what they do. Whenever
Yeah.
you have a group of people, that's how it always goes.
Oh, yeah. There's like 19 baseball movies about that.
Yeah.
Bad News
I
Bears
was
playing
much
Baseball
less
alone.
interested. I was less interested in that dynamic than I was in how are they going to figure out how to move past where they're at as people. Because, like Wolverine, when he's talking about why he wears that suit, that was awesome. I mean,
Mhm.
you got this funny looking suit, which to me, I loved it because I loved that cartoon.
That I
And
was
that's
been
what
waiting for
Wolverine
him
looked
to
like.
wear that.
And I
Well,
love
and
the
they made it
mask.
look
I love
good.
the mask.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think they
Oh, yeah.
think you could have made that look good back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
No.
And then when he put the mask on, it was
Mhm.
like, there we go. That's Wolverine. That's what even Deadpool said. There it is.
Well, you got this loner, and he's wearing that suit to remember these people that they were his only friends, but he had a reason that he couldn't connect with them fully, right? He's always been like the teammate that's like standing in the back, or he's one foot out the door.
Batman.
And you see how much they meant to him after. I mean, I didn't blame him when he explains why they died. He blames himself, but like he wears the suit to remember them, and he's also become this crazy murderer. Like I took it that he basically started to discriminate against humans because they had killed his mutant friends. So he starts taking them out. But what I loved about the story is like he doesn't want to be that guy anymore. He just can't figure out how to become the person he wants to be. So I was more interested in that, which is a parallel to Deadpool's story. And he's trying to be a better person, but he doesn't even really know why. Like, what did he say to Hap? Like, because I need this for me or something.
Mhm.
But he said the Avengers don't do this because they need it. They do it because other people need them. He knows that he wants to move forward. He just doesn't know how to do it or even what motivation is right for that,
Mhm. It's interesting. I don't know if I can comment on that. That sounded
Well, seriously,
And
I
that's
took the
really
movie like
something.
Deadpool made some comments about like coping with trauma, and he says something about Cassandra Cain being Gen Z, and he makes some jokes about her being like unpredictable or something. I think they're treating this movie almost like there's some therapy lingo in there. And this isn't to say anything bad against therapy because I think everybody can benefit from it, like I've been. So I'm not making fun of it. I'm thinking, wow, that's cool that they brought this into the film. So
yeah, definitely gets at a deeper meaning, like you said. They did two really good movies, but you do a third one like those, and then it's like, okay, we're just doing the same thing over and over again.
Mhm.
You know, just bringing in different characters so we can make fart and other body part jokes and you know, just this and that. No, they needed, and you know, Ryan Reynolds is a smart dude. He I'm sure he had tons to do with this.
Mhm.
I mean, he's made billions of dollars on a phone company, sold it, rum company, sold it. Now he owns a football team in Wales. So, you know,
Wales?
he knows what's going on.
Mhm.
So I think he saw that and it was like, you know, I know again, pandemic pushed things off and different things, but I think he realized that part 3 needs to be a story, a deeper story than just revenge or, you know, an opening or a hello.
Mhm.
You
They
know,
took a risk.
Yeah.
yeah, and they did it well,
I
and
think
they
they
put
did
it,
really well.
you know, plenty of comedy beats, so that keeps the movie funny. You're laughing, even the last part. I don't know if we want to talk about it or want to jump into it, where you know they're kind of fighting over who's going to sacrifice themselves, very similar to Hawkeye and Black Widow. But once he finally closes and locks the door, and he's like, "I'm doing this for you," you know, and everything like that, then even there they start throwing in comedy bits where he's sitting there flying by the window and rowing past.
Yeah,
And,
that was
The
pretty funny.
elevator.
Spock, I'm doing the Spock thing, you know. A lot of comedy bits, and just even the most serious moment, they still made you laugh. So
Mhm.
And in your cliched normal storyline, you would expect the person outside the room to not break in and not be a part of the sacrifice.
mhm.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
that's almost how it always goes. So when Logan did break in there, I thought they were both gonna die. I really did.
Yeah.
Uh,
I thought this was gonna be the end of both.
I knew that Logan was going to get in. I mean, they had that
Mhm.
set up where he can't reach, and you knew that any minute now you're going to see the hand come in. But I was totally expecting them to be disintegrated by the end of this film, and I thought, well, maybe that's how they kind of. I don't know. I mean, they end it. If that happens, they end it. It's over. There is no more. But
I theorize that they think that they can't do it now because they've been struggling with superhero movies lately.
yeah,
So I think the right ending was probably to kill one or both of them, but they felt like that we can't do that. We might need to use
Oh.
these guys again.
well, no, I like how everyone thought they were dead, and they just come walking out, and he says, like, dude, we were just hanging on there with electricity, and you're playing Madonna, and you think we're gonna die during that? Come on, like, I mean, exactly, like,
yeah.
so they even throw it out there that we're self-aware of what we just did in this film, and it works because the way they're doing it with the humor, and it could be predictable, but they made it entertaining, not predictably boring. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, when he locked himself in there, I expected the movie was going to end with Wolverine sitting there talking to a
His
pinky
skull.
finger with a very, very tiny head sticking out of it. Hey, man, you know, and he's not dead yet. He's gonna regrow his entire body. I figured it'd be something like that, or maybe something even cruder with his wings sitting there, or something like that. I don't know.
Which wouldn't be
But
surprising
That
either.
would have been the way they would do it, wouldn't they?
Of course it would.
as soon as Wolverine grabbed his hand, I immediately went to if anyone goes down there, they'll die. And I was like, okay, they got 2. Plus, you have plenty of Guardians of the Galaxy references to make at this point, so you can't die here. And they didn't make any Guardians of the Galaxy references, but yeah, once Wolverine got in there, I was like, okay, they're going to be fine.
I liked what they said in the middle of the film about the anchor Wolverine too, when they said the little girl that he had saved says, Wolverine, he showed up when it counts. They're talking about how like he didn't get it right all the time. He wasn't an anchor being because he was some amazing dude every day who didn't make mistakes. Like he was raw, but he showed up when it counts. And I think that's cool. I think that helps people who are watching the movie like us, like if we want to be different than we are and we think we can't, like, well, the example they set forth in the film, it's a flawed character who makes the sacrifice when it matters, you know?
Mhm.
So I think that's cool.
I think that's what I've always liked about Wolverine. I mean, so when I was a kid, I was not into comics. I didn't know anything about X-Men. What I knew, I got from the movie. But watching those, I think Wolverine has been one of my favorite superheroes because of his he's not a squeaky clean, always doing good things. I mean, he battles demons. He's got a lot of he's seen some stuff.
Mhm.
And he shows that he's a miserable man, but
Yeah.
you're right. He does the right thing when it calls for it. And he does put other people first, despite how he feels. And I think that's one thing that I've always enjoyed about, Wolverine. And so I could sit and watch, I could watch those movies all the time. Uh, so I enjoy seeing that. I love seeing a vulnerable side or a human side to these heroes instead of just being invincible. That's why Indiana Jones is like one of my favorite movie characters, because the guy gets hurt and he feels. It's why Rocky Balboa is one of my favorite characters of all time, because you can feel his emotions. This guy lives a crappy, lousy, unhappy life, but he tries to do good. He's trying so hard. So that's what I like about these characters.
I do too. And that is the spiritual theme of this movie, is basically redemption and it never being too late. Like a person's never gone too far that they can't do something good or change. So yeah, that's what stuck out to me in the film. I did think it was interesting that, afterwards when they had told Wolverine, hey, we can go back and fix your mistakes in the past, and they tell him like, no, those mistakes made you the person who could save this universe. So they didn't want to send him back. I wondered, I think you have to tell me what you think of this, but it was the right choice for the message they were trying to send, like that, hey, you can't change the past. So for us as viewers to relate to that, we have to be able to see him accept what he had done before and decide that he's going to move forward and change. But it is interesting that happened so quick, and those people all still died. Like, it would have been nice if he could go back and undo what he had done, but it's the right choice to make the point for us, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, you always learn from, who I am today is because of the things that I've experienced in the past. And if I didn't have those experiences, then I wouldn't be this. I think we've talked about that before with another film that we did. And I can't remember which one it was right now, but we talked about
recent.
how, where if it's because of this, I did this. And, could I go back and change certain things? Oh, we're talking about with was it The Family Man?
Yeah.
If I could
Yeah.
go back in time 30 years and tell a college me or a high school me, hey, this is the where you need to go if you want to get to this. Well, had I done that, I'd miss out on my wife and my kids and all that stuff. So, you definitely have to learn from those experiences. And I think that's a really good message even for him. You learned from that. You are a better person today because of what happened there. And you're right. If that changes, then you're not going to be this guy anymore. You're going to go right back to being who you were before. So, yeah.
Well,
Cool.
do you guys recommend Deadpool and Wolverine?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
It was
fun.
fun.
Yeah, it was solid. It was one of the better Marvel movies I've seen in a while.
And it was just a movie.
It was a fun movie.
It was a movie. They didn't. I don't want to get into a debate, but there wasn't anything pushed on you. It wasn't this way. It wasn't that way. It was Top Gun Maverick. It was
They make fun of everything.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I appreciate that.
It's nice.
I want to watch my movie for entertainment.
Yeah. It's nice to sit in the theater for 2 hours and just laugh and have fun.
I assume if you're watching this review, you know what you're getting into when you see a Deadpool movie. Like it's going to be your hard R, lots of gore and crude humor. So if that's not your thing, you won't like this movie. But if you can withstand that and you can appreciate some of the deeper themes here, you might like it.
Mhm.
So,
I don't know if you got to see it, but before it showed where Doug and I went, they had like for a half hour, it was just like shorts of Deadpool. They show clips from Logan. They would show clips from Deadpool. Then they had Deadpool being interviewed. And she
oh
said,
yeah, I
would
didn't get to
anybody
see
be
that.
by this movie? And he goes, yep. And he just went off a list of people who will be offended.
Anybody with taste, anybody with
Anybody
like
with this.
anybody who likes good movies would
He
be
just
offended.
he said basically everybody could be offended by this movie.
One thing I did find out that Ryan Reynolds was kind of pushing for, I don't know if you guys heard this yet or not, but they were going to literally shoot and then advertise this buddy. It looks like a bad buddy cop movie with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. And they had movie posters made where it was like two, and it was called
Is it
like
fake?
Ultra Cop or something like that. And it was basically they were both cops, but they shared a brain. So
Is it fake?
literally, it was going to be it was a fake movie, and the tagline, they literally had a tagline: 2 cops, 1 brain, all balls. And it was going to looked like they were going to shoot a trailer, and they were going to shoot 5 minutes of this movie. And people, he's like, the 12 people who would show up to see this, 10 minutes into the movie, all of a sudden the Marvel thing that starts flipping through, and they get to watch Deadpool and Wolverine.
That would have been funny.
And
That's
he's
cool.
like, they were working towards that, but they were so worried about leaks and everything out. Every cameo that showed up in this movie, I heard about, and I didn't
really?
try to look it up.
I heard
Yeah,
about
you know,
half of them.
Now I've heard a lot more as well, but it wasn't. It was like, oh hey, that cameo I heard about's in it. Oh hey, that cameo I heard
I was
about.
totally shocked by the Jennifer Garner and the Gambit ones. Those are the two I did not know
Yeah.
about.
I didn't know about any of them. I mean, I did not read anything about this at all. So
Yeah, but where was I going with that?
Space. I don't know.
Boy, I was going on a rant and I
The
completely.
buddy cop. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's what they were going to do anyway. So he thought it would be funny, but they were so worried about leaks that if that leaked, then the joke
would
would
ruin
just
it.
be
Mhm.
And it was like, well, why do we spend all this time doing all this? So
Yeah.
they kind of pushed it to the side. Now anything with Ryan Reynolds coming out in the future, everyone's going to think it's Deadpool 4.
We need a Free Guy too.
That
All
was
right, guys.
a very
Well,
underrated movie.
let us know what you thought of the movie in the comments. And we do have a few other superhero reviews on our channel, including Eternals, which had some stuff in there that surprised us. So, well, some of us. There's a lot of cool factoids behind that film.
Doug,
Yep.
you want to share that little fact about this movie and Eternals?
No,
No, I'm curious.
I'm trying to think what you're talking about.
You told me about over the weekend, Deadpool made more money.
No, not
Oh,
Eternals.
that was the Marvels.
Marvels, yeah.
Sorry, not the Eternals. Marvels. Deadpool over one weekend made more money than the entire run of the Marvels.
Actually, it was Friday and Saturday only.
Or Friday and Saturday made more money than the Marvels did. Total.
Yes, it did. It set the R-rated opening weekend record, right?
Mhm.
I believe so, yeah. Which used to
All
be
right,
held by
guys.
Jesus. Now it went to the Marvel Jesus.
Marvel Jesus.
Well, we'll see you guys again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks
Have
for
a great night, guys.
watching.